And I was like, Lord, what's gonna happen? Like, is he what everybody's saying he is? And if so, will you show me? Will you give me a confirmation? This was about 3.5 months ago. And I was in prayer this one day, and I saw this sword come down. It was a huge sword. It had to be, I don't know, 6 feet in length. That's big for a sword.
Yeah.
I mean, it was beautiful, but it was fierce. And the Lord, the sword went into the ground, and it like with power, but even like in anger. And he said, deception, deception, deception. And I said, deception? He said, the church is deceived. And then he gave me like Hosea chapter 9. So that was like 3.5 months ago. Then after that, I came back from doing a Passover event in Maryland, and in March, the end of March, and I got sick because I was up in the mountains, and it was like 40 degrees in the mountains, and it was wet. And then where I was living, it was 80 degrees, so it messed with my immune system, and I got sick, and I caught a cold. And this one night, I was propped up downstairs in my living room late at night, trying not to wake up the house, and hacking and coughing, and I'm trying to go to sleep. Like, I wasn't praying, I wasn't talking to the Lord, nothing. I was just like trying to go to sleep, and it was like midnight. It was after midnight, and I doze off, and I hear the audible voice of the Lord, and he says, they keep saying that I said, I've anointed, I've chosen, I've appointed, but I say, I do not know any of the candidates. And at the time, there were 3.
Yeah.
Okay, he wasn't talking about all 16. I think it started out with 16 people. I don't know. It was crazy. But it was 3 at the time. It was 2 left in the Republican and 1. Well, no, it was 1 left with the Republican and 2 with the Democrats, which was Bernie Sanders and Hillary.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know them. So I was like, it kind of shook me up, but I was like, okay, well, I didn't ask, okay, why you're telling me this? Okay, so then that 2 months ago, this was like April, maybe the end of April, I just went before the Lord, and I said, because I'm not putting any of this out, I'm only telling people, but I'm not saying too much of anything. And I see this great divide happening in the church. So I just went before the Lord, and I said, show me Donald Trump. I was like, Lord, show me. I said, Lord, every time I've ever asked you, which are not a whole lot of times, but every time I've ever asked, Lord, to show me somebody, like if I'm not sure in my flesh, in my own intellect, who a person is or what they really are all about, because I can't discern it, I will ask him. And every single time he's always answered me and showed me what I was really dealing with. And I said, Lord, I gave this to him. I said, you've always shown that to me. You've always cleared me. You've not allowed me to be deceived. I said, show me this man. Well, I prayed that night, and I was waiting to see if he would talk to me or give me a scripture, and he did it for that, regarding that. And I went to bed, and that night I had a dream. And in that dream, which I spoke about in that video, I was in a church, and I was due to speak, and I speak all over the country. And it was like a meeting that I was due to be at, and it was a Friday night, and it was me and Donald Trump. We were both due to speak, and he was late. He was very late. This place it wasn't a big place, but it was filled. There was no seat that wasn't filled. And the people were so excited that he was coming to minister to them. And you could hear them talking, and they were saying, he's coming to minister to us. Oh, we're so excited. And even in the front row, there was this 96-year-old woman. Don't ask me how I knew, but it was this 96-year-old woman, and she was so excited that he was there. And And it was 1 minute to midnight, I believe it was, on the clock. The clock was on the back wall. I think it was 1 minute to midnight. It might have been 5, but I think it was 1 minute to midnight. And I was with the host, and we were trying to find worship music, and we were waiting for him. We were like, where's this guy at? So finally he comes in, and he's like rushing, and he comes to me, and I'm like, they're waiting for you. They're waiting, and, it was his night to speak. I wasn't due to speak till another night. And he looks at me, and he's like, oh, yeah, I know I'm late, but, he's like, well, I really can't stay that long. And I was like, what do you mean you can't stay that long? You're late. It's your night to speak. And he was looking at his watch. And he said, I'm late for a board meeting. Business meeting. And I was like, you're late for a business meeting? He says, well, I'll just go in and I'll just say a few words for them. I'll stir up the crowd and you can take over for me. And I said, wait. I said, wait a minute. I'm not due to speak tonight. This is your crowd. And this is what I told him. And he pats me on the back. He's like, yeah, but you're good at this stuff. You can take care of it for me. You'll be fine. You're good at this stuff. You do this stuff all the time. I said, but this is not my crowd. This is your crowd. You're due to speak to these people. He's like, well, listen, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say a few things. I'm going to stir up the crowd. But afterwards, I have to go. And it was just cut and dry like that. And so I'm sitting there kind of in shock. And he goes out to the crowd, and people are like clapping. They're so excited, like, this is going to be our president. Oh, this is going to be our president. And so he pulls out a piece of paper that's in his pocket. I don't know what was on the paper, but it was folded in fours. And he starts reading from this paper, and he's pacing back and forth. And everything that's coming out of his mouth is about money and politics. And that's all he talks about. And then he folds up this piece of paper. He talks for, 5 minutes. And he folds up his piece of paper. He puts it back in his pocket. He looks at his watch. He's like, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for coming all the way out tonight. But I'm late for a meeting, and I have to go. And he leaves, and the people are sitting there. And it's like the crowd doesn't even know how to react. And some people are still sitting there with like a pasted smile on their face. And they're like, oh, well, this is going to be our president. Yeah. And other people are like, wait a minute, this is not what I came here for. I thought he was coming to minister to us. What do you mean? He didn't say anything that was pertaining to a testimony. I mean, people are like, wait a minute, this is not what we came here for. Yeah. And the dream ended. And so the interpretation of the dream the Lord was showing me, which has been confirmed over and over again since I've had it, was that the church is deceived, basically. And what they're gonna find out is that he is not what they think he is, and he's not going to deliver what they're expecting him to deliver. It's going to be a huge disappointment. Now, I've told people throughout the time, God has never said to me that the man is not going to get elected, and he's never said to me that he is. What the Lord has emphasized to me is that we got bigger problems on our hands than whether or not he wins the election, and that's the person who's still in office. Yeah. And that has been my point over and over again. And no matter how much I say it, there's still people that they just don't get it. They're just like, oh, well, you must be, we're going to get Hillary then. You're just saying don't vote for him. I'm like, I don't want you. You guys are not understanding. It has nothing to do with that. And that's what God is trying to say, that no matter who you vote for, it is not going to stop the catastrophe that's coming. And that's the bigger picture that God is trying to get people to see, but nobody's paying attention to that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I completely concur and agree with that. And as far as the man that's still in there, he's not going to go away, even if there is an election and Obama walks away from being president. That's not going to be the end of Obama. He's not going to be the sort of guy that's just going to disappear into the sunset and live happily ever after. He's only just beginning.
Yes. And he's telling us that he's giving us signs. And that's what I'm telling people. I'm like, these people are telling you what they're going to do, and nobody's paying attention.